Hello everyone, welcome to another collab. We need to come up with a name for these things. We keep saying we're going to come up with a brand name, but we will do eventually. This is one in a batch of videos we're doing today, so go check out Rich's channel once again to see what else we've been doing. We've just recorded one on meeting Doctor Who people and locations and things like that. But today we're going to be doing a top 5 greatest moments in the entire history of Doctor Who. So quite a big ask.
Yeah.
I remember when I told you, you were sort of like, wow, that's going to be hard. I've put mine in a sort of order, but...
mine's a bit more loose, but...
Yeah, ish. But you'll get a sense of what our favourite moments from the show are.
I'm interested to see how we've both interpreted it, I suppose.
Yes,
It's
yeah.
a very broad question. It's like,
is it what the show means to you?
Yeah, exactly.
Or
like,
is it...
just whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Do you want to start
Definitely.
with your number 5 and we'll bounce back and forth?
As I say, mine are roughly chronological, roughly in order as well. So the first one I've got, or the fifth even, is the monologue given by River Song, the narration at the end of the Library two-parter.
When you run with the Doctor, it feels like it will never end. But however hard you try, you can't run forever. Everybody knows that everybody dies, and nobody knows it like the Doctor.
One I rewatched recently on the Series 4 Steelbook.
Yeah.
And it's pretty genius. And it ends with that famous line.
Everybody lives.
The one from the Doctor Dancers, like,
yeah.
it kind of foreshadows, not foreshadows, but the same ideas that he goes on to explore in his era.
Yeah.
That moment in particular draws together a lot of stuff that was foreshadowed earlier in the story, like the clicking of the fingers for the TARDIS doors. That shot kind of mirrors the very first one of the Doctor and Donna. There's that shot of the diary and then they go off and they come back. You know they're going to just run back, the Doctor's going to run back, and that's not the end. It's just one of those things, probably like all of the moments on my list really, that are kind of what the show means to me, what I think it is.
The message.
Very Moffat heavy, you know, for me. But
such kind of contrast to his other episodes before then, like Blink and Go to the Fireplace, both end on quite a downer in comparison.
Yeah, I suppose you're right there, really.
So it's interesting.
But there is that common thread of the everybody lives
yes,
thing.
Yeah.
I mean, that line is just completely like transplanted again here.
And it's a very Moffat thing if you think about it, you know, everyone really does live.
Everybody says, always, you know, no one dies.
My number 5, So I've mentioned about this moment before when we did our underrated episodes. My 5th favourite moment is Mickey standing up to Rose in Boomtown.
It's got nothing to do with Trisha. This is all about me, isn't it?
You left me! We were nice. We were happy. And then what? You give me a kiss and you run off with him and you make me feel like nothing, Rose. I was nothing.
That is some of the most real and gritty stuff in Doctor Who, because it's exploring something that really hasn't been explored an awful lot in the series in terms of how the Doctor's travels affect the people who don't travel with him.
People left behind.
The people left behind.
The monsters.
Yeah, exactly. I think that just sort of encapsulates Davy's era of really the character drama. I can't think of any episode in the classic series that explored that kind of those kind of issues, because a lot of the companions were very much like they just left and we never really touched on their home life. This is something very different. It's relationships, it's character development, because this is a turning point for Mickey. After this point in the series, he's never really under any illusions that Rose is his girlfriend anymore. And also Noel Clarke gives one of the best performances in the show's history in that moment. I just think that he really goes for it and it just feels so real. And yeah, I can't really justify it any more than that, but I've always, whenever I've watched that scene, I've gone, that always stands out to me. I never forget.
It's not something that I would.
It's not one that a lot of people would go to.
And have a look. I do remember at the end of that episode, there's that moment where Rose goes back for him, doesn't?
And he's just standing from afar.
Oh, he's like standing from afar, like hiding out of distance. Yeah, that's always kind of stayed.
Again, that sort of turning point moment of Mickey sort of accepting. Yeah, this is it.
She's gone back for him, and he's decided that he's actively not going to go back with her.
Pursue her anymore.
Pursue it. Yeah. So my number 4, I only remember this quite late in the day, but it's the end of Vincent and the Doctor.
We'll be talking about this
Yes.
later on my list as well.
It's got to be in there, hasn't it? It's brilliant. It's Bill Nye. It's a great speech, and the whole way it's shot as well on the spinny thing, and just the music as well, Athlete Chances.
Yes, I have that track on my favourite songs list, and I constantly play it. It's just the only sort of comparison I can think of it in the show's history is Rosa. But I think Vincent does it for me. Like I say, it'll pop on my list later, so I'll go into it a bit more. But
on an emotional level, I think, because of all the stuff about depression afterwards, he's like, oh, this changes everything, I'm gonna be a new man, and then they come back to the gallery and it's just the same, and it comes home. Definitely, as you say, in comparing it to Rosa, it's one of the best kind of endings to a historical story. I think one of the most I guess it's the most impactful historical story, really, isn't it?
Yes, in a lot of ways, yeah. Looking at the clip online, 6.8 million views of that clip on the YouTube channel. Wow. Like I say, I will be touching on it later in my list because it is amazing. My number 4 is a kind of joint one because I couldn't quite... They're very similar in a lot of ways, but I decided to pick Joe leaving the Third Doctor in The Green Death.
Don't go too far away, will you? And if you do, come back and see us sometimes.
And also Zoe and Jamie leaving the Second Doctor in the War Games.
Well, goodbye, Jamie.
But Doctor, surely we could...
Goodbye, Jamie.
Of all the sort of companion departures, these ones were the ones that got me the most. And I think it's because these departures are sort of the most underplayed, really understated moments, that it's not big soaring violins, it's not a huge epic, as much as I love Rose Tyler's leaving in Doomsday, that's not so much reality. I think I always draw back to that for me. I always love it when Doctor Who becomes grounded and real. And Zoe and Jamie's leaving, it's amazing how underplayed it is in terms of it's very quick, but even in that brief moment you can see it on Troughton's face, on Fraser Hines' face, on Wendy Padbury's face. Very much the same with Katie Manning and John Pertwee in The Green Death. One of the finest moments of classic Doctor Who. When people say that that era had bad acting or shoddy emotional weight, show them that scene, because it brings a tear to my eye every time. It's that shot of Pertwee coming out of the nuthatch, whatever it's called, coming out of there, getting into Bessie, and then the look on his face is just, wow, this is it.
The real life side of it as well with the actors, isn't it?
Yes, I was going to, especially with that,
and the Third Doctor,
because Pertwee on his face, he's thinking Delgado's passed away, Katie's leaving, Nick Courtney's being phased out, and Barry Letts and Terrence Dix are moving on. It's time for me to go. 2 beautiful moments. I think my favourite companion departures. Rattling through my head of all of them, I think they are the ones I always get drawn to. Particularly Joe. I think, in all honesty, Joe's leaving is my favourite, and I know it is for a lot of people. So fantastic that Mark Gatiss and Stephen Moffat rip it off in Sign of 3 in Sherlock. What's your...
so for me, the next one
3
is basically the whole ending of The Day of the Doctor.
I dream about where I'm going. She always laughs at that. But you're not going anywhere, you're just wandering about. That's not true. Not anymore.
Because again, it's just one of those, it's a Moffat moment, and it's one of those moments that kind of really celebrates what the show is, what it's about, I suppose. From when the Doctors, 3 of them, decide to change their mind, to find another way, hand poised on the moment, and never cruel, never cowardly. That's all the sort of stuff that it's about for me. That final moment's a real triumphant celebration of the show. Definitely. It's like smaller scale in the 5 Doctors, that... Well, after all, that's how it all started. That's the same kind of vibe, but in Day of the Doctor, it really is that moment of Matt Smith going, all my lives, I finally know where I'm going. Absolutely, it's like as many Doctors together as you can possibly get. It's a shame about the badly photoshopped heads, but we ignore that. We ignore that. The final shot. Yeah. Actually, just on a side note as well, there's a great edit of, I think I've seen edits of this on YouTube recently with Christopher Eccleston's little monologue about the planet.
Oh yes.
And I hope the planet turns round and shits on you.
Fantastic.
So go and see that if you haven't already.
Please do. Christopher Eccleston's Instagram is one of the finest things on this planet at the moment.
It's like nude photos with the flowers.
Yeah,
It's mad, isn't it?
It's incredible. I mean, we all go on about how he's this brooding, moody doctor, but look at his Instagram, and I say look at it, it's full of happiness, but also some quite aggressive moments too. It's amazing how he gave that impassioned speech about people throwing litter around, and we just turned it into a meme.
Yeah.
Yes, but no, I do agree. Day of the Doctor's final moments. It's interesting. Have you heard about the alternate idea he had for Matt Smith was going to be like walking up a spiral staircase, and it would slowly see sort of like Hartnell's cane, and
that would have been
another interesting way of doing it.
Yeah, probably slightly better than what we ended up with. But a great moment.
A great triumphant moment. And I remember watching it live was a real celebratory moment. So my third favourite moment, we're going right back to the beginning for the very first cliffhanger of Doctor Who in An Unearthly Child.
Yes.
I've talked about this again recently when we did our TARDIS video, because that final image of the TARDIS on a sandy landscape, that is Doctor Who distilled in that image. Doctor Who can go anywhere, it can meet anyone, it's just the expanse of this show. In the very first episode, that, Tribe of Gum aside, let's leave those 3 episodes.
Yeah.
The very first episode,
it gets a lot right, doesn't it?
It gets so much right, and it holds
magical.
up to this. Aside from the black and white stuff, it holds up to this day. And I think that final moment really is just this sort of statement from the show, going, "This is what you're in for. This is the ride that we're going to take you on."
The bit that I always forget as well, when there's that little, it's not even important, it's a BBC television centre or whatever, of
and
London.
It's zooming out.
Yeah. I always forget that's there.
It's very eerie, isn't it? I always think that the shots of, as the TARDIS is dematerialising, and it's like Hartnell with this sort of really, sort of almost terrified expression on his face, and then Susan and Ian and Barbara, and it's flashing through them all. It's really unnerving. I don't know why, because it is just literally such a simple thing, and
I love all those moments, like where they start or end of an adventure, it's leading into the next one, and they see something on the scanner screen or like whatever, I don't know, and there's something very magical about those, and I couldn't quite think of more off the top of my head to include here, but it's definitely something that is very magical about the show.
And that's my number 3. What is your number 2?
Number 2 is the end of Listen.
I'm going to leave you something just so you'll always remember. Fear makes companions of us all.
Again, like that optimism of Stephen Moffat's trademark sort of optimism. Fear, but you can use it to advantage, and it will make you stronger and whatever. And just the way that listen is woven into it as well. The word listen, like I think the whole thing starts off with listen.
It is a very intricately
very
woven
intricate.
episode,
I remember watching it at the time, kind of thinking it was a bit weird, a bit random. Like John Hurt's just there for a moment, a few episodes.
It's weird to think that. So he's appeared in Day of the Doctor and in a Peace Capaldi episode,
which is strange. All of the moments on my list are kind of from the end of it, like culmination points from episodes or seasons or whatever. And it's both, I think, in the context of the episode itself, Listen, which I think is quite a masterpiece, one of my favourites. It draws that together nicely. It harks back to Day of the Doctor. It harks back to just broader ideas, I think, with the whole thing of the Doctor Nirvana, which is controversial. But then again, it's that kind of thing of him like coming from a humble background and all that kind of magical backstory, lore stuff.
And again, Murray Gold's score in that moment is...
in all of these moments, the score and the...
Yeah, that's something interesting, because
dialogue and,
thinking about mine,
together, isn't it?
So far, none of mine have had a score. With Mickey, there's silence. Joe Grant's leaving, silence. Zoe and Jamie, silence. The final cliffhanger, silence. The ones coming up my list really do play on music though, so I do agree. Murray Gold really helps to sell it. I know a lot of people sort of say that it feels like they're forcing the emotion on people, but I mean, Murray Gold's just, especially for people our age who grew up with the show, I think it really does tug at our heartstrings, because it just
Yeah, they're definitely those moments that do that, definitely.
My second favourite moment is Vincent and the Doctor in the art gallery.
Where do you think Van Gogh rates in the history of art?
Well, big question, but to me, Van Gogh is the finest painter of them all. Certainly the most popular, great painter of all time.
Again, like you were saying, I think it's the true power of this show, what it can do. Not just for what it does to, for Vincent in sort of showing just how appreciated he is. That moment for a lot of people watching, with mental illness problems, with suffering from depression and things like that, that probably helped a lot of them too. It's the power of the show not just to help the people in it, but help the people watching and the fans of the show. I think that is something truly magical about it. It's helped so many.
I mean, Vincent van Gogh obviously was a real person. It's one of the ways the show ties into real world history and issues and things, and I think it's one of the great things about the show is that it can do that, like with the Rosa Parks moment. It can kind of celebrate these things or people from the real world. You're blending together a real world story and a Doctor Who story, or Doctor aspects of it, and both of them together, and making this great piece of television that celebrates both of them, I suppose.
Yeah, I get tears in my eyes every time I watch it. It's a beautiful moment, performed so well. The monologue by Bill Nighy, just fantastic. Great performances. Toby Curran as Vincent, brilliant. I was watching that episode not long ago, and as I finished it, I was like, you know what, that might be in my top 10. It's astounding television, it really is. Let's forget about the space chicken. So, honourable mentions before we go on to our number ones. I've got quite a few from the 10th Doctor's era. Eldon's speech about life in Love and Monsters.
Interesting.
That final line of the world is so much bigger, so much madder and so much better. Summed up Doctor Who in one line there. The old rugged cross scene in Gridlock, when they're all singing in the cars.
Yeah.
That whole thing of faith sort of uniting all these people with all this distance between them, and they're all interlocked. It's just another beautiful moment. 10th Doctor and Jack discussing mortality in Utopia, through that radiation chamber door. In an episode that is really, high octane drama, you suddenly get this moment when the characters can actually have a conversation and talk, and you really get to learn a lot about both their characters in that scene. And then finally, 10th Doctor and Wilf talking above the Earth, in the End of Time.
Oh yeah, that's cracker.
Two people who don't realise just how much they have in common. They have seen a lot, and they have really experienced heartache and and Cribbins. But I mean, Bernard Cribbins, how can you not love Bernard Cribbins? Just amazing performance in that.
He's so brilliant, yeah. The thing is, if you haven't noticed so far, all my picks have been from New Who, and I was kind of thinking about this, yesterday I was picking them, and it's not that I don't like classic Who, obviously.
Yeah.
It's just like, I think the moments that are most refined and kind of they celebrate aspects of classic Who, but in new ways. Or
it's how television's moved on in some ways, isn't it?
That are most slick, most greatest, taking greatest to kind of mean the very best in all ways. Yeah. But there are a couple of classic things I was toying with. So the first, TARDIS taking off, dematerialisation from the Unearthly Child. The second Doctor's speech to Victoria in Tomb of the Cybermen. Yeah. And as well, the more recent version of that from The Woman Who Fell to Earth as well. That's another favourite of mine.
Yes, I remember someone...
Parallels
yeah. Someone linking
Do I Have the Right from Genesis of the Daleks?
Oh, God, yeah, of course.
Yeah, cracker.
Yeah.
That's about for the classics. I couldn't really think of many more.
Well, yeah, I've got another few classics as well. Ones. The Fourth Doctor and Romana in Paris. That opening to City of Death. I couldn't quite justify putting it on the list because I don't know how I would justify it, but when I watch it, I just get this feeling inside that's just like, this is Doctor Who. It's Douglas Adams, proper great dialogue, when they're looking over Paris.
Shall we take the lift or fly?
Let's not be ostentatious.
All right, let's fly then.
That would look silly. We'll take the lift. Come on.
The Fifth Doctor saving Perry and Kaiser Androzani.
Yeah.
Just a great moment for the Doctor, and this is who he is. He will go to any lengths to save anyone. And then finally, the Seventh Doctor in the Happiness Patrol, when he taunts that gunman, sort of saying pull the trigger.
Oh yeah,
end my life.
Happiness Patrols are brilliant.
It's a great episode. Yeah, it's very underrated.
Yeah.
But that's very nice in this sort of. It is encapsulating McCoy's sort of manipulative nature.
There are a lot of those little turns from McCoy, aren't there? I mean, I can't remember
there are
most
some,
of them off the
yeah.
top of my head, but
one in Battlefield that I watched recently, you know, when he's with Morgaine holding her up,
war speech,
and he says, "Yeah, is this honor? Is this war?
Are these the weapons we would use? Tell me!"
It's almost like the new series idea of Doctor's monologues kind of seeping in slowly but surely.
I really like that, and like all the little idioms he uses and riddles and things, and I don't know, some people don't like that very much, but I think that has a little quirkiness to his character.
Obviously the final moment as well, the little speech of, you know, there are worlds out there where the sky is above.
Oh, survival, yes.
Can't forget that.
So a couple more from me from New Who. I
Sure.
was thinking, I wasn't too sure, you know, 11th Doctor, Matt Smith ones. I mean, the ending of A Big Bang, maybe, and in particular the moment where he's at Amelia's bedside.
Yeah, just like when he's saying, you know, we're all stories in the end,
and
just
that's all
make sure it's a
kind of
good
fairy
night.
tale sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe something from A Christmas Carol, but I wasn't too sure. 'Cause the ending doesn't...
There are some great moments in there, though, aren't there?
And even little things just like the Doctor, the Wheel and the Wardrobe one, and he's talking to Madge about Christmas always being associated with death if she tells her kids about
in an episode that I hate, that is a lovely moment when it's like, there's a reason that she's not. She's like, you're not telling them now because they will be sad later.
Yeah, it's something like that, and there are a lot of them. Again, I couldn't think of them all off the top of my head right now, but there are a lot of those little lines.
Smith has a lot of those,
and he delivers them so well with his performance and showing the age.
Again, Doctor Who and the Wardrobe. I don't know why we're talking about this episode in the greatest moments of Doctor Who history, but again, that ending moment of him coming to Amy's door. And there's been a moment in the episode where he talks about happy crying, and he says, "Oh yeah, that's such a human thing," and he turns around and he's happy crying at the end. That does really, it gets me. And I've also got one more new series moment as well. The 12th Doctor going up to the two masters in The Doctor Falls and saying, you know, is this on your list as well?
Maybe.
Well, maybe this links in to your number one.
Maybe. Yeah, that's my number one.
I do what I do because it's right, because it's decent, and above all, it's kind. It's just that.
I mean, what can we say about this amazing moment?
It sums up the show, really, doesn't it? And
it does.
The whole, I mean, the Doctor and the Master, and it's got all like the kind of weight of some kind of Western showdown or something, doesn't it? It's just so raw. I mean, it's one without music, actually, in contrast to the other ones on my list.
And that's why I think it is one of the main reasons, because Murray Gold knows when to hold back and let the dialogue just speak.
What would you die for? Who I am. It's where I stand. It's where I fall.
Everything about it, the kind of colour grading and the darkness, the kind of twilighty sort of feel to it, and
the performances
it's fantastic.
As well.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I mean, Capaldi, just amazing.
What else can we say? It really does sum up what the show is about. It just brings to a head so much about the show. So many ideas about it, and
so
Stephen
about the
Moffat
Doctor as well.
Yeah,
because
I mean, his outlook.
Yeah, because I think that's more interesting than knowing his origins. I think it's knowing why he does what he does, and it's just because it's kind.
Yeah,
it's just. Watching that go out, I knew from the moment I was watching it, I was like, this is going to be an iconic moment that's going to go down in Doctor Who history. It is incredible. And in this similar vein, my number one, the scene in The Doctor Dances, Everybody Lives.
Everybody Lives.
Which has kind of brought it round to the very first one we talked about as well, Everybody Lives.
Everybody lives, Rose. Just this once. Everybody lives!
This is the show at its most uplifting. Sure, the moment, like the Fifth Doctor saving Perry and all these really heart-wrenching moments, they really can get to you. But the sheer power behind, you know, the Everybody Lives moment, it's unmatched in the show. I just adore it, and it's just beautiful. It preaches everything the show's about, you know, wonder, happiness, hope, and kindness. That character development in the Ninth Doctor, could you picture the Ninth Doctor from Rose doing
laughing,
that? You know,
smiling.
everybody lives. You know,
Yeah.
like everybody dies. Go on. The character development there. He's learned so much. He's taken so much from Rose and from all the people he's starting to meet on these travels again. He's in healing all these people. He's healed himself, hasn't he?
It's a lovely, lovely way of summing it up.
That is what the Doctor does. He goes around, he heals the wounds, and he makes people better. And that moment really sums it up for me. And it's so interesting how a moment that is driven by such heart and such warmth, that brings a tear to my eye as well. You know, in such contrast to like Joe Grant leaving, and Vincent's one is another happy sort of one, but it does have that tint of sadness to it.
Yeah.
This one is pure happiness, and I get overwhelmed by it. It is beautiful. What a lovely way to end it, though. Starting with Everybody Lives.
It's very neat how it's all
ending the same.
time around, isn't it?
So that's our 5 greatest moments in Doctor Who history. It's very hard, I imagine, hard for you to get down there.
It was. Yeah.
And yeah, what are your favourite moments? Please do let us know in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching. It's been fun to sort of, you know, revel in our favourite moments of our favourite show. Yeah, hopefully we'll see you again soon for more videos. We're going to be recording another one for Richard's channel in a bit, and also another one for my channel as well, so stay tuned for that. Thank you very much for watching, everyone, and we'll see you again very soon. Bye bye!